Hey, what's up? It's a Figure Hunter, and today we're going to look at 3 particular apps that you can use to track your fitness development over a prolonged period of time, simply connected and uploading and linking in workouts from either devices or from the Apple Health directly into these apps alone. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. Lots of other great content coming on the way. So I recently released a video where I surveyed 4 main providers, 4 main platforms: Garmin, Polar, Suunto, and Whoop. Because over the last 75 days, I've taken on sort of a personal challenge to do the Hard 75, or a version of the Hard 75 that includes increasing your amount of workout volume. And I thought, as I'm going through this process, and I'll explain a little bit about what it all entails for this version of the Hard 75 that I did, I thought it would be really interesting to see which of the primary sports apps that are on the market today providing, information from watches actually provide good, clear pictures of how your fitness is developing when you've made a personal change. Obviously, we all like apps that help sort of reflect. We can see a difference. Maybe you're not seeing the difference in the weight scale if weight loss is necessarily the goal, or maybe that's not the goal, like it was not for me. But you want to see your fitness grow. You want to see yourself develop in some way where you can say, look, it made a difference. And so we'll put it in the description below along with the timestamps for this video so that you can just jump to whatever parts are most pertinent or interesting to you. But I just finished this massive video of all the different platforms, those 4 different platforms, and all the different ways it reflected a change in some part of my fitness or fitness life. So I just completed the Hard 75, like I said, and what that entails, or the version of it that I did, was it's an hour and a half of workouts a day. It didn't have to be at some rigorous, super strenuous level, but as long as you put in an hour and a half a day. At least a gallon of water a day. I don't know how it happened, but I just started clearing like a gallon and a half of water a day. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. And then some change to your diet. So you could pick whatever you wanted to, and I just basically did no sugar, no wheat, no pasta, and 75 grams of protein a day as my primary diet parameters, in addition to intermittent fasting 3 days a week. So not every day, just 3 days a week for at least 18 to 20 hours. And I had no concern about how much fat I took in, no concern about like how many calories. I mean, when you're just sort of trying to hit that protein goal and you can't eat the same types of carbs, you can just only eat, rice and potatoes. You can get some calories, but it usually was a little bit less than the daily thing. And then it also requires, this sort of 75-day challenge requires some sort of personal growth. So you're like a daily reading for personal growth and maybe a daily focus time for personal growth. So that's what the 75 was. And so it was a clear change. So going into the Hard 75, I basically worked out CrossFit style workouts for 4 to 5 days a week, sometimes 3 to 4 days, and worked out maybe 2 days a week doing something more casual, like working out in the community gym and just doing rowing and biking and elliptical or something sort of straightforward like that, or maybe going on a long bike ride. So it was sort of more casual with 1 or 2 days completely off of exercise, and then moving into 7 days a week of something. And in that something, I basically did 6 days of full CrossFit classes and usually stayed after class to work on some skill things. So an hour and 15 minutes roughly of the CrossFit, and then I would basically go on a walk every night for at least 15 or 20 minutes and use some of that time for personal growth reflection. And then at least 1 day a week, I would just do nothing on the intensity scale. So that was what it was for 75 days. And that is a long period of time. It was not enjoyable when you have to commit it. It's like every day, there it is. You got to get it done. For 75 days, 2.5 months. And one thing I want to shove in here on the front end, because I've done so much work around seeing how you can track your fitness over all this change over the Hard 75 and all that stuff, is tomorrow I'm going to release a review, and I mentioned this in the summary and realized I wanted it in the intro. Tomorrow I'm going to release a review for what a bad night of eating and drinking looks like in your health, wellness, ready, recovery, all of those types of stats. Like, how does it show you are a piece of junk when you have eaten terribly and, had bad drinks? And one night, how does it reflect in the devices itself? Because I did 75 days of commitment and then 76th day anti-commitment to anything healthy at all. And it for sure definitively showed in all my stats when I woke up the next morning, and I'm going to share it with you. So that's what I went through, and so I wanted to see what I could really see in some of these analytics that these platforms are offered. And a friend of mine named Marcus, I'll put a description in his Instagram page, because I think he writes, or he is the moderator for a number of different Facebook groups when it comes to Whoop, or it comes to wearables for human athletic performance. So I'll put a description, or I'll put a link to his Instagram, which is what he asked me to do. But he brought up a good point that some of the apps that are out there that just suck in this workout data will actually give you some of these same quality analytics. So I want to look at some of those apps just to continue to provide for those of you that want to understand how to best see and perceive your fitness growth when you have gone through a change, or even if you're just doing the same regimen you've always done. So we're going to look at the three main ones. We're going to look at two that you maybe haven't heard of, and one that everybody in the whole universe has heard of. So we're just going to see what it offers. So the two that you maybe haven't heard of is, first one is HealthFit, and that's all one word, and it has advanced some of their metrics and some of their offering. I subscribed to this 3 years ago just at random, and it's very different, and so we're going to look at that. The other one is Athlytic, and it's not spelled like athlete, it's spelled with a Y, so Athlytic, and that is a really, it's almost like a mirror image of the Whoop, especially if you wear an Apple Watch. You'll get the Apple Watch Sleep. So it basically pulls in information from an Apple Watch, and it gives you the same type of strain recovery, sleep analysis that a Whoop would give you, but just not for $360 a year like Whoop would charge you. And then the last we're going to look at, and I am not an expert, so please don't crush me on this, is Strava. I have everything just links into Strava, and I was like, oh, I had no idea. Maybe there are some analytics that I could look at, and he suggested I do so. So I'm going to share that with you now. And we're just going to dive into this. We're not going to talk about who's necessarily better, or maybe at the end in the summary, I'll talk about a little bit of that. So with first up, we are going to look at HealthFit. All right, so this is HealthFit. When you go into the landing page, it just shows workouts. I mean, it's about as rudimentary in some ways as it can get. And so this is, the workout off the Garmin that was connected to a chest strap. You just see start end times. You can see cadence, but that's sort of worthless when it comes to CrossFit and high intensity interval. But you can see here on the training load side. So you get all the same type stuff, your average, your max, time and heart rate zones. And this is useful information. Don't get me wrong. You can see, your heart rate zone time periods in detail when it goes to analyze the workout. And this just ported over from the Garmin. But you can see the training impulse score. And if I click on that, it doesn't do anything. But that score is sort of like your training load for that workout, as well as your heart rate stress score, heart rate reserve, which sounds cool. I don't even know what that is, but I think that's great. Sort of like your energy reserve, almost like how some devices will show your percentage of sort of cardiovascular depletion from the level of workout, the difficulty of the workout that you did. So that's what workouts look like in summary. But the other thing is you just go down in the bottom and you click statistics. And statistics has a bunch of different things. We're going to end with that statistic at the top, the fitness one, because you'll see some interesting things there. So you can see your training load. This is that intensity score like we just looked at, and loaded over the week. Now I have 3 different devices that are flowing information in, so that's not going to be accurate really for me because it's got 3 workouts in, so that load is going to be probably higher, and maybe it erases overlap. I don't know. Some apps do that. And then you got your training load for the month. So you can see, so if you dive into this month, you can click see all, and it'll show you the workouts and, lots of stats there, how much time I spent with CrossFit or working or mixed cardio. So I have a lot of information flowing in here, so not all of it's going to be useful, but you can still see the basic gauge for the training load so far this month and the training load last month. And that's when I did the Murph workout, which is uber grueling and produced a lot of training load. So you can see that. You can see obviously the training load for this week, so you can gauge it over time. It doesn't click into the week, so I don't see any other stats. And then you can see past 12 months. If you're just doing certain types of workouts and you want to see your training volume, this is just a pure training volume. This isn't like a quantitative value. How hard you work out or how hard you don't work out in this sport, and whatever the sport is that you tracked, is not determined here. It's just however long your time clicked by with your start and end time. So same thing with year to date. You can see where my fitness has changed from last year. And I wasn't actively using the app, so maybe something wasn't flowing through, and maybe more devices are flowing through now, so maybe the spike is not relative to this personal change. And then a whole lot of information. You have an Eddington number. I don't know what that is. That sounds cool too, but the biggest thing is this fitness tracking component. Now, if you watched the video yesterday or the video recently about Suunto or the sports tracker app, or either one of those apps, because those are two separate apps, but they actually are the same software development, you can see the same information. Fitness, the CTL, the fatigue, ATL, and the form, TSB. That's your training stress balance. I think that's what it stands for. And you can look at the TSB model. That'll take you to a hyperlink with a little study on it. But it all is the same similar information that you would get with Sports Tracker or your Suunto watch in your Suunto watch app, where you can see it over prolonged periods of time, where you see your fitness is that black line on the top, and it is evolving if you've been working out more. And the fatigue line simply says that your red line is above your black line, so your black line is always moving up because your fatigue. And the information on the bottom is more like how much recent load are you placing on your body relative to how much load your body can handle, because your fitness is at a higher level. So that's what you get in the Suunto, but you get a similar thing here, because look, 30 days, 6 weeks, 3 months. Well, guess when I started working out more? 3 months ago. 6 months shows a clear change in my workout pattern, workout history. And you can even hold your finger over it and you can say at any time, what was my peak fitness? 323. Again, this might be multiple apps, but they're all the same apps that flowed through across this whole hard 75 days. And you can see your fitness grow. So you can see your fitness waterline. And I liked Suunto's projection, or Sports Trainer's projection of it, because it really is the clearest picture of your fitness growth over a personal training period. And then this training monotony, training strain, if I click on either one of those, it'll give me like a little overview of it and how it's calculated. It's based on your TRIMP score, which is like a load score or cardiovascular strain score from a workout based on some other component. But it doesn't really tell me a whole lot. Like, what is 2.3? Is that good? Is that bad? Is that too much monotony? Is it not enough? Same thing with training strain. Is that strain score good or bad? But that's basically a 7-day statistic. Versus up here, you can go real long periods of time. You can see, like, even in this last 2.5 months, I can see that I peaked out my fitness unlike it had been peaked out prior. And so you can really see a change in your fitness, and this is really, really helpful information. And then the health metrics, just basic stuff. I don't find anything super interesting here, although it is bringing over the oxygen saturation, respiration rate from the Whoop, so it's pulling in information from other places. And you can see those metrics there. So that is the HealthFit app in simple, very simple overview form. I really like how they've expanded some of their offering. It's a little bit simple in some ways. It's almost like it is really just like a training load software. So contrary to what you see with Suunto or the similar app Sports Tracker, which gives you a Suunto-like experience if you don't own a Suunto watch, because I do not own a Suunto watch. I just connect the chest strap to the Sports Tracker app on the thing, and I push the button to say start on my phone, and then I go about my workout, and it gives you those analytics. It's the same reflection of what you would get on a Suunto watch. But like that, it's just really simple. I mean, it doesn't provide you a full breadth of recovery and wellness aspects, but it does give you all those analytic aspects when it comes to your fitness development, your strain overall, when it comes to workout load strain, when it comes to workouts in general. And so next up, we're going to look at Athlytic, so let's dive into that app. Okay, so this is the Athlytic app. And if you are any follower of Whoop or you've seen any Whoop reviews, you can see those top 3 lines are the same 3 focus areas of the Whoop device: recovery, exertion, sleep, which is the same as what Whoop would call exertion equals strain, and recovery is the same word that they use. So I don't know because I'm not wearing an Apple Watch, so I don't know if this recovery estimate is accurate. Because it's pulling information in from somewhere, but it's last updated at midnight when all your real recovery tracking gets analyzed during your actual sleep. So either way, it would give you a full recovery score, but we're going to just look at the exertion side of things because that's sort of what we're focused on is fitness development, fitness growth. And so you can see the workouts from today, they did flow through to my strain score, just like Whoop. It's a different a different range of numbers, but you can see the target exertion zone. So it's giving me a recommendation based on what I should have my target zone be, because I started out the day at 28% because I had a bad recovery score, which we don't know where that information came from. But either way, it said get a 5.5, work towards a 5.5, or work towards a target zone of 1.8 to 3.8, and I got a 5.5, so I went over it. And then towards the bottom, you can just see your heart rate across the whole entire day and the spectrum of it. So you can see information just on your overall simple number for your strain score for that day, and then you can go to the bottom. You see at the very bottom the sub primary areas like trends, and in the trends you can see this is your recovery exertion and your target exertion range. So if you're under recovered, then you'll have a lower range for how much hard work you should do that day, and if you're super recovered, then you'll have a higher range for how much hard work you should do that day. And you can see your relationship between the two, and you can click on 30 days to see what it's like over a longer period of time. All these things are a little bit too recovery focused, but one thing I do like here at the bottom is if you're looking at your training over a period of time, you can see in any week how much time you put into the harder heart rate zones, like how much raw rigor and effort you put into the higher cardiovascular strain zones, your maximum heart rate, average energy burn. Some of these things aren't that helpful. Cardio fitness is like an estimate of VO2 max just based on other categories, so not based on run. And I haven't looked at that in great detail, but it has some of those things. So those are the trends. Again, these are just sort of getting warm with what the app really offers. And then you have health, which is just the summary of all these stats that pulled over, and heart rate variability, nice little tanking there, will come in the video tomorrow. So my HRV tanked over the change in diet on day 76. And then we go into workouts, and you can see a lot of information when it comes to, the workouts. The workouts are actually kind of neat how they break down the information. So you have to give it a second for it to really load in the data, and then finally the data loads in. So this is the heart rate that flowed through from Whoop. You can see that at the top. The rigor score, the intensity exertion score, but it says intensity very low, but it still gave me a score of 5. But either way, time spent in zones. But I love this. It's showing you aerobic and anaerobic impact based on that workout. Now, I don't think that's accurate, because it was more of an aerobic impact workout for me, because it was a long 20-minute Metcon at the end, and this is giving too much credit towards anaerobic, but they're always calculating how they take the information from these devices and flow it into this is a lot of information here, highest efforts. There's a lot of information here. So all these, that's one of the things about all these apps. So that's what you can see in the workouts and overall with regard to trends over time. You can see within that's the basic summary of what this is providing. Obviously, you can see your trend for exertion. So, your exertion level over the course of 60 days. You can see like the amount of time that you spent in different exertion zones, or how much exertion per day. And we'll sort of stop it there. But that's the Athlytic app. Again, like you see on the Today, when you focus on the exertion, you focus on all of the different components that you would want to see, like you would pay Whoop to see, and you could pay a lot less to be able to get this and use whatever watch you want to get the same analytics. Okay, so with Athlytic, I really like that it is like a comprehensive. It would require you to have an Apple Watch. If you want to get the full use of it, and like HealthFit and Athlytic, there's some sort of subscription cost and that sort of thing. And I'm not going to look at even what the costs are. It's all less than what it would be for Whoop. It's all less than what it would be for purchasing a watch. But you have to get heart rate information to it for it to run the analytics. But with Athlytic, I don't do anything with Athlytic. I'm just like I don't do anything with HealthFit. It just pulls in information either from Apple Health that just automatically is linked to Garmin or Polar, which you could see it flow in there. But same thing with Athlytic. It just pulls in the workouts, and it's there for the analysis. So you can see your training load stuff. And if you did have an Apple Watch, it'll sync in the sleep stuff. So the Apple Watch is tracking things while you sleep, and it doesn't look at what Apple says about your sleep. It just takes the data, whether it's heart rate variability data or whether it's the heart rate data, and it basically compiles the same type of stats when it comes to recovery estimates, how well recovered you are, that you would get from a Whoop device that's $30 a month, $360 a year. So to me, it's an incredibly good solution. And one thing I love about Athlytic, because Marcus has been on the front lines of really helping evolve that app, is that it is really continuing to grow. It is always getting better. It's always introducing new features and updates. So that one's a good one to check out as well. And the third one, Snooze Fest. Everybody in the world knows about this, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like to see a 75-day workout regimen change, or a health change, because it was health and workout level combined. So we're going to look at Strava. So with that, let's dive in. All right, and finally Strava. And I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a Strava expert, and I'm sure there's like 5,000 things Strava can do that I'm not aware of. But either way, you go in the landing page. It's just sort of super generic. If you have a bunch of friends, and I don't, then you'll see your friends' workouts and stuff like that. And I just have my workouts for the most part. But within a workout, what you get when you have the Strava Premium, or you can get this view analysis. So you can see super basic stats, those ported over from my Garmin 955. You can see a relative effort down below. So how much relative effort strain that one workout was relative to a 3-week average. Like, is that on par for a good workout? And it says, yes, that's on par for a good workout for me based on my 3-week average. And then in the middle there, you see view analysis. And so you go into that, and it shows you, the heart rate graph, just like it came over, and then the heart rate zones. Nothing super fantastic, but again, if you're doing heart rate zone tracking as part of your workout measures or evaluation, then that would be something useful. But you're not getting a lot of strain scores here. You do get this relative effort score, and so that's neat, but not a lot of statistical information, especially if you're not doing running, biking, or swimming. You're just doing high intensity intervals. So look on the bottom, it says maps, it says record, it says groups, but on the bottom it says you. And ironically, this is where sort of your fitness history lives as well. So you can see all your activities that you've ever done and just scroll back across a broad period of time. But you want to look at progress, because the progress is where it has some of this value, and we'll look at the most value in a second. So number one, you can see, within a week of time, you can see like how much total time you spent exerting yourself. That's, again, not a determinant of how hard you exert yourself, but the fact that you did exert yourself for that period of time. But you can see a chart of how much time you're putting in. And then monthly activities, you can see a lot of stats. Now this May, it'll show a full recap of May. May was a higher number of hours because I was training for Murph and doing Murph, and just a little, progress side, how much time I spent doing each type of workout, just a little summary. So if you like a little snippet of, I don't think that adds much value to me. You have a training log where you spent lots of time or a little bit of time, so you can see like lots of different activity there. It looks like triple counted from different places, but a training log, and then the weekly intensity and monthly fitness. Now these are the most important variables. So weekly intensity, so this is what's useful. So like to me, if you were to look back here, how much time you worked out, like in this week of May, the literal amount of time you spent working out is no indication of how hard you worked out. And if you made use of that time, or if you sat around, lazily not really producing anything. But the weekly intensity is that score. So there's that intensity score, and you can see it across different times per week, like when you're putting in a good score, or when you're just putting in an average score. So like, the Murph week, everything peaked out, and then sort of a below average after that, because obviously I had, shrunken it all down. You can see all the information that goes into it. And then the last one we'll look at is this monthly fitness score. And it's another tracking metric to see how your fitness has improved over a period of time. Here, in the last 1 month, it says my fitness has improved 8%. That's great. But even more encouraging to me is my fitness over 3 months has improved 34%. That seems like a lot. And then over 6 months, boy, my fitness slacked off. But then in the last 3 months with the Hard 75, or just with focused effort, my fitness has improved 34%. Now that's a big number when I was working out before. And this is another useful tracking metric that you can see quantifiably how much is your score going up? And I'm not going to break down all the details of what goes into that score, but it's a fitness evaluation. It's sort of a measure of fitness that you can take and you can look at in a longer period of time to see how you're trending over a longer period of time. So that is the Strava. All right, so what do you see about Strava? Now, everybody here might know what Strava is. You know, please feel free in the comments below to tell me if there's some other feature of Strava that I didn't quite capture, because I was just looking at it a little bit more surface. This is the premium. You do have to pay for $10 a month, I think, to be able to get this. But either way, maybe I didn't dive into it, but I at least wanted to show how it displays fitness growth over time when you've gone about a more specific or concrete or conscious change in what you were doing from a fitness perspective. So in summary, and looking at all these apps, it is really cool that you could have, I mean, one thing you could think about is that you could have a piece of junk watch. As long as that watch can connect to a chest strap, then it's getting accurate heart rate information, because most pieces of junk watches don't get good optical heart rate tracking, especially when doing CrossFit or high intensity interval training. I always tell everybody on the channel, always pair your watch to a chest strap or an armband that will actually do the heart rate tracking for you, because there are no really perfect watches. I mean, the Apple Watch is close, but it's also a 24-hour battery life, so it's sort of worthless there. But there's no perfect watches that track the heart rate accurately, and all these analytical metrics come from heart rate accuracy. How much time did you spend in certain levels of strain? How long did you stay in that period of strain? What heart rate zone were you in and for what period of time? And did you cycle in and out of it quickly, or did you go up and just continue to stay? And so all that has pertinent information for what they're going to glean for these analysis that goes into all these different apps. So you don't have to actually have the world's best watch, sorry for all the manufacturers out there, in order to get some quality training load analytics. That is one thing, when I break down the Garmin family of watches, what watches don't include training analytics? When you look at all the watches that are out there, what watches take time to give you access to the training analytics? And does that make it a good watch of choice? Because the training analytics are some of the really cooler features that are being expanded and evolved in the fitness world today, whether you are a high-end fitness person or just somebody that's looking to make changes. So with that, just wanted to give you some other options. Tomorrow I'm going to do a video. We're going to have a video release for what does a night of bad eating and bad drinking look like in a watch? What is it, the stats? How does it show how it affects your overall health to have a day of bad eating and bad drinking? Because I did the Heart 75 for 75 days. And day 76 was not glorious. So we will look at that in a review coming up soon. So with that, thanks so much for watching.